Paranormal Podcast.
Right. It's the Creatures of the Night Paranormal. Nope, it's just the Creatures of the Night. That paranormal's not, it doesn't have to be in there for you to Google search it up.
I've done that so many times. There's just so many words here. Let me just add some more.
Right. Let me make it even longer for you to type in. No, you could just put in Creatures of the Night, pass over the kiss images that you might see when searching.
Those are my favorite.
And then find our podcast. It's a house. It looks spooky, like a water picture. What is that called? What kind of paint is that called? Watercolor.
Yeah, sure.
Like a watercolor type picture.
Watercolor.
Painting. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's really cool.
Actually, our podcast, the logo that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's actually a house in New England that I took a picture of and then added all those like designs to.
Yeah. No, it's a real looking haunted location.
Yeah.
No, we're not really sure. You just took the picture, but
wouldn't that be awesome if it was a haunted location too?
Oh, I mean, it's in New England. It's haunted, I'm sure. It's old and it's haunted. I mean, it's old and it's in New England, so it's haunted, right?
Absolutely. So welcome to our podcast.
and I'm Wendy, and you're?
I'm Chris. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. And I guess we can just jump in and tell you a story real quick.
Oh, sweet.
And just real quick, though, I want to share this with you. And obviously, we talk all the time. And I've said this before, and I don't know how I could really politely say this, so it's going to sound like kind of all over the place.
Are you going to tell me to quit burping on the podcast? Because that's going to be tough.
Yeah, because it's really disgusting, Chris. That was a bit extreme, as if I meant it, but I didn't. No. A while back, we have mentioned this a little here and there about the behavior within the paranormal community and the very standoffishness of everyone. And I get it. Please, I get it. I don't trust anyone.
Me neither.
So I'm very suspicious by you popping up to me and telling me about your crazy ass haunted place, or what grand experience you had or evidence that you've gotten. And that's not what I'm really talking about. We like to listen with an open ear, and we nod our head and we say, wow, that's amazing. And when we get alone, we might critique what you said and talked about it more. That's a polite way of handling it.
Agreed.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the lack of wanting to communicate with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
That you get from some places. We've had a lot of people that reach out to us and they share their experiences, or they comment on posts. And I love that. I love that, because you would think I have this super kind of odd thing I'm into. I'm really looking for other people that might be into it. And then, oh my God, here they are. Here's my people.
Right. We should all be in the same bubble together.
Oh my God, you finally feel so included because here's this person that's into the same thing as you. Let's talk about it. What do you think about it? What do I think about it? What's your experience? It's okay. We do not have to be alike, and we do not have to be on the exact same page. Let's just have a conversation about it, because you have to halfway be there because you're into it. There's some people that don't want to talk about it at all. They're in complete denial. And then there's the people that like to go out there and really explore and see for themselves. Whether you believe finding EVPs on recorders is bullshit, it could be contamination, or whether you think orbs are a joke or whatever. Couldn't we just calmly talk about it instead of just not speaking to each other? And like I said, this is not for everyone, but I just want to point out, in recent months, I've emailed a group, or in the past, when I first moved to Arizona, I reached out to a local group. I got the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
This came up in conversation while I was trying to leave work the other day. And
are you giving them the middle finger too, by the way? Like, fuck y'all, I'm going ghost hunting.
Fuck all of y'all, I'm not into it. No, it was like the total opposite. The people at my job really think it's cute and adorable or funny that I'm into the paranormal. They're really supportive and nice.
That's nice.
But none of them are going to go out with me or anything. They're just that crazy Wendy or whatever. Oh. And so there's a new girl at work, and somebody was spilling the beans to her that this is what I'm into. And she's like, oh my God, really? And I was like, yeah, but my best friend's in New Hampshire, so I don't get to go out and explore a lot of places. I'm always trying to hold off until she can come here and do it with me.
That's like the exact conversation I have except my best friend is in Arizona. Basically the exact same thing.
If you said my best friend is in New Hampshire, I'd be mad. I'm a very jealous person.
Hold on a second. What? No.
Which, so I said, gosh, I really don't get to get out enough. I really should start exploring more. I guess I'm just going to have to go out there by myself. And they said, you don't have to go out by yourself. I'm sure there's other people in town, other groups and stuff. Why don't you reach out to them? I'm like, well, I have. Yeah. I have, and not all of them. I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying I've reached out to a group and they were pretty much like ghosted my ass. They communicated back once and then they never communicated out again. Like, I don't want to deal with her. And I have emailed other groups when we've had experiences in locations and I've heard they've had experiences there.
Right.
Like, hey, can you share your experience of this town? You get either what do you want from me? Or you get no response at all. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to share in conversation with these other people in the paranormal community. Also, this is what prompted it too. Almost in the same day that I had that conversation at work, I was on the search for more paranormal podcasts to listen to. Oh, yeah. I can't get enough of it. So, I'm looking for another paranormal group or podcast to listen to. And I found this one and I don't hate it or anything like that. I don't want to like throw stones at anybody or be ugly, but they were talking very negatively as if they were the only ones in the paranormal community that look at it this way. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's not really true. I mean, I feel like I try to debunk stuff and I feel like we don't just like go out there as if we've got rose-colored glasses on and only see things a certain way and it's all magical and stuff like that. Right. And they were just like, I guess we're the only ones. And it's like, well, no, you're not. So
I have a little theory on this. For just anyone listening who isn't like a paranormal investigator, who hasn't had to deal with this sort of situation, as Wendy has explained, we've been faced with this a lot. Just even going to places where they were open tours, like trying to introduce ourselves and make friends with some of the other people there. They're very standoffish, which is weird because like on a normal day, we're standoffish people. But when we go to these places, we're trying to associate. We're trying to.
Oh my God, we're like, these are our people.
These are our people.
Please.
I
be
feel
my
like
best friend, and maybe we come on too strong.
Maybe we do, but I think honestly, because it's happened so much, I feel like you can compare kind of like being a football fan to being in the paranormal community. But like, just think of it as you're a football fan, but yep, you're all fans of the game, but you like the Bears, right? And I like the Packers. And then you're like total separates. Yeah. There's that, oh yeah, you like football? Well, I'm in New England. Let's talk about the Patriots and how good the Patriots are doing this year. I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but I'm from Chicago and I like the Bears. So it just changes the whole outlook. And when you're all there.
What a fantastic analogy.
That's how I feel about it.
I love this. And I don't get what team we're on, though. I don't know what teams are out there that, the different views of the paranormal. I don't get which one we're not a part of or which one we are. Right. For us to be like, okay, it's cool for us to be friends because we're on the same page. Maybe that's what we have to do is start categorizing your beliefs in the paranormal, but then now this is like turning into religion, is it not? I mean,
right. And that's not what we're trying to do. No, there is no paranormal team. There's no ghost Patriots. There's no ghost Bears. Well, maybe there are, but I don't want to discount. Right.
Ghost Patriots too.
Yeah, there definitely are.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just saying, like, no one way is necessarily right. This is not a hardcore science that anyone has written down and proven to be true. There's just a lot of theories. Yep. So stop judging me when you don't even know me. Like, you're not even responding to my email and giving me a chance, or you're on a podcast and you're generalizing people. You haven't met everyone, so don't say, I guess it's just us. Do you know everybody in the United States or the world? There's lots of paranormal groups. You can't just go off of what you found on TV and say, this is the way everything is. Right. And you can't always be it's just an email, man.
Right.
Like,
please respond. What the hell?
You must be really scared of like computer viruses to not message me back. But I mean, disclaimer, we have met some really cool people. There are some really cool people out there doing it. We will
No,
never
for
in our
sure.
life say we're the only ones. We've met cool people just on social media that we've never even met. That Skeleton Crew group is always really awesome and communicating with
cool.
us, and they're just really cool chicks. And then there's Robin and Jamie back in Indiana, and then the chicks that we met in Missouri and stuff. And there are cool people out there.
Oh, yeah. But there's a lot of other people that you try to reach out to that are very standoffish. Yeah. I get where you're coming from, and I'm sure other people do as well, because I read to you an Instagram post from the City of London. So they're obviously feeling it too. If they have to post that like Para-Unity thing, they're like, come on, guys, let's get together.
You're just tired of people. You go your entire life of like, I guess you would call them like straight people that don't at all want to believe that ghosts exist.
Right.
And you're telling them, I've had these weird experiences. This happened. And they're like, you're fucking crazy. You know, you would get locked up by these people if it was a different generation. And then there's this world where people are a lot more open about it. And so you run to those people. Oh my God, this happened. And they are also like, you're crazy. You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, oh, wow, where the fuck do I go then? So I apologize about that. It's something that was kind of annoying me, and I knew I wanted to talk to you about it, and face to face, not over text, because, you know, we had said it before and stuff. I didn't want to do it wrong, but it's a lot of words. It's a lot of texting. I would get bored with it and be like, never mind. She knows what I mean. So I just want to share with people, if you're one of those people that share the same view about unity, like the people in London, then this is a podcast for you, because, you know, that's kind of why we don't talk necessarily about this is how you investigate and blah, blah, blah. Right. That's not our jam. We tell you a little bit about where we've been, and we tell you some stories about places you can go to, and you can draw your own conclusions, because we're all individuals and we have our own opinions and ways of thinking. So
right on.
So in a recent podcast, I talked about an article that I found that was on the most haunted trails around America. And that's where I discovered this fucking gem. New York's Long Path Trail, which is appropriately named since it is 358 miles long.
That's long.
That is long. We are not hiking that whole thing.
Thank you. No. I'm like, oh my God, she loves to hike. I'm like, I don't know if I can handle that. I have this busted leg and shit. Come on.
So it stretches from the George Washington Bridge in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and it ends in New York's like Albany area.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. I saw pictures of it along the way, and it connects you through all these large preservations and parks and state forests, and it's just beautiful. But my story isn't about another set of hiking trails. It's about what lies along this trail's path. In Thiels, and I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, New York, of Rockland County, the trail passes by a large memorial stone that says, "Those who shall not be forgotten," followed by a list of hundreds of names. Beyond the memorial are T-shaped markers bearing numbers, but no names.
Wow.
The cemetery lies half a mile away from the former institution which it belongs to, Letchworth Village, where these unknown spent their last remaining days. Patients' names are actually buried in the archives of the facility and are off limits to the public. Hardly anyone visits the graves.
That's sad.
Few people ever did when the institution was even open.
That's really sad.
It is really sad. And that it doesn't have anything but the numbers. And so people don't, like family members.
Like the numbers of the patients or the people, or
I'm sure there's somebody that they can petition to and prove they're a family member and find out a little bit more. And I saw plenty of images of photographs kind of like taped to certain crosses and stuff like that, as if that maybe they had figured that out and they wanted them to be recognized. But so Letchworth Village was a residential institution built for the physically and mentally disabled of all ages, from newborns to the elderly. The facility housed all kinds of types of people. So this was types of people that myself, a poor farmer in the area, has a disabled child, and I have no means to really take care of this child. So I heard of this facility that takes these kinds of kids in. I'm going to take them off. They're no longer my child. I had a child, but they were disabled and I couldn't take care of them. So I sent them off to this facility.
That's heartbreaking.
So years and years down the road, and with better understanding, there's a grandchild, there's a cousin or whatever that is like, I heard one of my family members went to Letchworth and I'd like to learn a bit more about it. So they want to pay homage and they want to find out which one of them is buried into the cemetery. So I think there's ways to go about it, and people have definitely done that, because I saw lots of little comments, my so-and-so was there and blah, blah, blah. And then, like I said, there were pictures attached to the markers. But at the time, these were kind of people given away to the facility and forgotten about.
I am going to be a little
emotional?
Yeah, it is very emotional. I was going to say macabre here, and see, I can't wait to find pictures on this place.
Well, look, I mean, like, also when I this is why this stood out to me. I'm like reading about these different haunted trails when I was trying to figure out my other story, and I'm reading about the long path, and then I'm like, oh, it goes by a cemetery. Oh, it goes by the Letchworth Village Cemetery. Are you fucking kidding me?
Man.
So, I'm with you on the macabre and the creepy and the all, like, we're doing this hike.
Oh, my God.
To get there. So
Whew.
we know where to go. What town.
Yeah, right.
I think you can just drive right up to it.
Okay, good. I like that.
Back to Letchworth Village. It opened in 1911. Ooh. At its peak, it consisted of over 130 buildings, and it's spread out over many acres. It was named after William Pryor Letchworth, who was a big supporter of reform for the treatment and care of the insane, disabled, and poor. The village neoclassic buildings, they were very fancy, like designed buildings, consisted of small dormitories, a hospital, a dining hall, and housing for the staff, plus living facilities for the patients, and they were not to exceed 2 stories or house over 70 patients at a time.
Wow.
The facility was thought to have great potential and was a great improvement from past facilities, just like itself. The grounds surrounding the building were very vast and created a lot of leisure space for patients, for them to spread out.
Okay, nice. Yeah, roomy.
Plus, well, I mean, just that, like, get in touch with nature and, like, get to be able to go outside and get sunshine type thing. But also, as late as 1958, the patients grew their own crops. They tended to cows, pigs, and chickens. They also made toys, and they sold them, like, at Christmas time.
Santa's Workshop?
Yeah, but a farm too. So,
wow.
I mean, it sounds like they were just trying to give the patients something to do so that they felt like they were doing something. They had a little job, and they were, it feels good to make a product and sell it.
Sure. Something to keep them busy. I gotcha.
Yeah. So Letchworth was described as the ideal center for the mentally challenged and praised by the state.
Wow.
That is at first, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Until stories of mistreatment of patients and horrific experimenting started to circulate.
I don't like mistreatment.
Yeah. Or experimenting.
I mean, I know it wouldn't be on this podcast if it wasn't, leading towards something darker and sinister. I mean, it's just...
It could just be a normal hospital that closed down, and then there's there, and all the patients were treated fabulously, but no.
That sounds amazing, honestly. But I haven't come across any haunted hospitals that weren't like some bad torture, mistreatment shit going on. There weren't just like happy hospitals closed down.
No, because they probably wouldn't get closed down if they were good facilities.
Yeah, good point.
That's the one key point. See the connection.
Yeah, right.
They suck. So, former worker Dr. Little presented in an annual report in 1921 that there were 3 categories of persons at Letchworth: the moron group, the imbecile group, and the idiot group.
Man, that Dr. Little.
I mean, he's real professional, right?
Sounds like it. Yeah. I mean, you know what? Honestly, it sounds like my boss. I mean, I'm just...
Couldn't get more creative with these names, come up with like kind of something that's a little more discreet. No.
Right, Dr. Little.
Yeah, I question the fact that they call him a former worker and then call him a doctor at the same, If I called one of my doctors a worker
Mm.
or an employee, they'd look at me like I just fucking shit in their cereal. So, I mean, like,
Like, yeah, was he in the mailroom before, like, he finally got his doctorate? Like,
wait, yeah, how did this come about?
right.
No. They usually don't refer to them as workers.
Interesting.
It would be like a physician or something more professional, but whatever. He doesn't sound super classy in the first place, so who gives a fuck what we call him now? Call him an asshole.
Yeah, right.
That's what we should call him. So, according to Dr. Little's opinion, the people in the last group could not be trained.
Okay.
Dr. Little said, God, why do I keep fucking that up? It's
like, it's like almost like Dr. Doolittle. Like, you just want to be like.
That's what I want to add to it. Dr. Little said they shouldn't even have been taken into the Letchworth Village. The idiot group, they're untrainable, so why should they even be here? Because to him, they were unable to benefit the state.
Wow.
By doing the various jobs that were assigned to the able-bodied patient.
This guy sounds like a creep.
So along with that toy making that sounded all kind of cute and great, like they were getting to be crafty and then sell it and feel proud of their work and stuff. Oh no, they were also made to move thousands of tons of coal into storage facilities and also build fucking roads.
That's horrible.
What just happened here?
Right. So basically they were slave laborers. I mean, it was what It sounds like.
Yeah, like prisoners.
That's horrible.
But they don't even know why they're there, basically. Or maybe they do, but, you know, it's just not fair.
It's not fair. It's horrible.
Yeah. Many of the patients were young children.
Oh,
in that. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if they were the ones moving the coal or not, but there were lots of patients that were children. In that same report that Dr. Little wrote in 1921, he noted that 317 out of 506 people were between the ages of 5 and 16. 11 of them were below the age of 5.
That's basically more than half of the people there. They were children.
Yeah. So what we hope is it was nothing but the adults or whatever that were taking a part of this labor. But
wow.
I mean, who was there to stop them from doing whatever the fuck they wanted? So visitors observed that children were malnutritioned and looked sick, and the Letchworth staff claimed that they had a scarcity of food and water and other necessary supplies, but that wasn't truly the case. Children were often the subject of testing and some of the cruelest neglect.
Yeah.
Many of the children were able to comprehend learning, but weren't given the chance because they were thought to be different, or the staff just felt like they didn't have the time to work with them. In like February of 1950, Hillary Koprowski? Yeah, that's as close as we're going to get.
That works.
I have to say it a couple more times, so we'll see if I change it or fuck it up later. This guy, actually, though his name is Hillary, tested the live virus for polio vaccine on a human male child that's believed to be around the age of like 8 for the first time. And at this point, Letchworth enjoyed a good reputation with healthcare providers or professionals in the area, you know, despite all those rumors of like crowding and mistreatment, and, you know, never mind all that.
Jeez.
There was a Letchworth doctor named Dr. Jarvis that asked Kapowski to test the virus at Letchworth. And when it was successfully administered to this 8-year-old little boy and the patient didn't die, they were free to try it on other patients. So they tried it on 19 more kids.
Oh, my God.
Which luckily it worked. And there you go. There's the polio vaccine, right? Congratulations, Letchworth. Yay. No, but let's think about how these kids were basically treated like lab rats with no respect for humanity. And how many times had they done this before and had not been successful, and they just didn't report that shit?
Sure. That's exactly where my mind was going.
Absolutely. Because they had to, I'm certain they had some kind of control on that. So when the polio vaccine came out of the success of them trying it on this patient, they're like, look at what we did. But it's like, wait a minute. How many other times have you done something like that?
Right.
Nobody questioned that.
No, of course not, because they came up with a cure to a horrible disease, which is amazing for them. Sure, they don't want to know. They don't want to know what did you guys do to actually get to this point. They're just thankful that they came up with with a vaccine for it. That's all.
That's going to save all these able-bodied,
Which it is. I mean,
in the sense, normal people.
right. Jeez, it's terrible.
So, barely 10 years after the construction of Letchworth, buildings were already overpopulated. Nearly 1,200 patients were present during 1921. I mean, just 1921.
Yeah.
By the 1950s, the village was overflowing with 4,000 inhabitants.
Wow.
In the 1940s, Irving Haberman took pictures which revealed the true nature of what was going on.
Yeah.
Until that point, the conditions of the facility weren't apparent to the public because it was just kind of rumor to them. They hadn't actually visually seen it. Nobody had taken their ass out there to take a tour and check on these kids or people or anything. And then now Haberman's exposed this terrible condition in the facility.
I mean, these were people's kids. They weren't even checking on them.
I don't want to harshly judge people. Maybe they were so poor they couldn't afford to take. You think about it, if you had a disabled child now and what it would cost to make sure that child has what they need, or you have to quit your job to be at home with them and stuff like that. And you think about a poor person that was living in shambles to begin with. And I'm not justifying anything that they did. Of course, I'm like a type of person that's like, oh my God, you don't feed your cat treats, you're a monster, So, I'm really that extreme. But when it comes to children, I'm an ass and give my kids way too much. So I wasn't there. I don't know what you were experiencing. So I'm trying not to pass judgment on you, though, how I would have taken in all your strays.
I know. Yeah.
Give them to me and I will take care of them. There's no way I would go there and take fucking pictures, and that's not to criticize this photographer either, but you go there and you take pictures and then you just go home and publish them and be like, look at what I did today. I exposed this. But get this. He showed the patients to be that they were highly neglected, and it pushed the public to question what the fuck is going on in this institution, yet it remained open. Nothing fucking changed. So, really, what did he do other than further his career? Oh, I sit there and say, I don't mean to judge you, but then I throw out things like that.
Well, he didn't know, or, what else could he do as a photographer but to go there and at least show the public what was happening to people? And
Yeah.
But just to think, if you'd saw this man's photographs in a newspaper, I probably would have been killed. I would have ran up there and started trying to murder those fucking people. It's just, listen to the story. It's heartbreaking.
Because I'm sure it would have been super easy for you to just walk up and take a few home or whatever.
Get out of this place. This is terrible.
Yeah, well, it's like those commercials you used to see all the time, and now I don't have regular TV, so I don't see commercials really like this, but you used to see the Save the
They
Children
still exist.
type commercials. Not in the United States typically.
Right.
These were kids in another country, where imagine if you're living in New York and that kind of commercial came on TV.
And it's in New York?
And you're like, go save this child. I'd be like, get in the car, everyone. We're going to pick up your new brother and sister and brother and Uncle John. We're taking him up too.
I love Uncle John.
Yes. It would be so hard to not get involved, but we weren't there, so we don't know necessarily. There was a lot going on in the 1940s. We were at war. So, there's a lot of people that were probably like, I feel really bad for these people, but I ain't got nothing better for them either.
Right.
So, that could be the case, and we don't want to harshly judge. We didn't live in these times, but it's hard not to feel for these people.
This is such a sad story.
Yeah. In 1972, ABC News featured Letchworth in its Willowbrook, The Last Great Disgrace, a documentary by the ABC New York investigator reporter Geraldo Rivera. Oh my God. If you see the pictures of him in 1972, he had so much hair.
I see him.
And he just looked great.
Rivera.
He did a documentary, and it was mostly focused on Willowbrook, and that was an institution that was on Staten Island, and that was his main focus. But then he investigated Letchworth as well, and he investigated some facilities in California also, just to see what the state of these kind of treatment for disabled and impaired patients were. While he found that there was great progress made for the care and training of disabled peoples in California, he saw that the situation in New York was backwards and fucking cruel and not right.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. Do not go look for these kind of videos and stuff like that. Get off of it if you're looking at it right now, because it's hard.
I did look it up when I was just looking up his name, and I have seen this before.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time dealing with when children are involved. It just really gets me.
Just the helpless and the innocent,
Yeah.
and they don't know what's going on, and they're just kind of pushed into a situation and then treated really badly. It's not fair.
It's not.
Yeah. So Rivera found that the residents of Willowbrook and Letchworth Village lived in awful, dirty, overcrowded conditions with a lack of clothing. I mean, if you watch these videos, a lot of them are nude. I mean, just like, that's ridiculous. They weren't being bathed, and they just weren't. There was no attention to their needs. The facilities were incredibly understaffed. So this is not to play a hate game on the staff, because I saw a lot of comments in the stuff that I was researching that was like, my aunt worked there, I worked there, whatever. And they were like, we tried our best. So I believe, there might have been some people that, there's always some people that don't have a good work ethic. And then there's also people that are trying their hardest, but it's super underfunded, and you're short-staffed. So doing their best with overcrowded situations. So there was little or no actual schooling, training, or even simple activities to keep the residents occupied, so that they just wouldn't, sit around and do nothing or get into trouble. This confronting report led to reform in disabled services throughout the United States. The intention, however, did little to immediately support the needs of Letchworth Village. The institution again still remained open.
Wow.
And inadequately funded and poorly managed.
That's awful.
However, finally, Letchworth closed in 1996.
Oh my God.
That's like 10 years, right?
That's insane.
What did I just say?
He was there in 1972.
Geraldo was there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, it was like 20 years. He was there in 72. And then they didn't close it until 1996.
That's ridiculous.
How many more people flooded through there, during that time? This is ridiculous. So, many who worked at the village refused to speak on their experiences, because a lot of them are still alive today. Patients were moved to more up-to-date facilities in the county, and most of the structures remain just desolate and weathering away with time. Part of it has been repurposed for other things, and then there are quite a few buildings that just kind of sit there. Side note, I read somewhere that poison ivy covers most of the buildings that remain.
So you're screwed.
We can only go there in the winter, or I have to take a full body hazmat.
You just get on my back and I'll trudge through there. Can you see us? You've got your voice recorder up in the air.
Like Hodor and Bran.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. Okay.
Don't worry about it. Just get on my back.
Because I don't have a hazmat suit. So that's a good plan.
That's right.
And I'll just cover myself in tea tree oil even before going there. That dries up poison ivy. Just know, everybody. So it's really strong smelling. So when your fellow coworkers are like, what the fuck is that? You're like, I have poison ivy. Leave me alone.
What? I thought that was just the way New York smelled. I mean,
probably does. I don't know. So the once impressive arched windows are smashed, and the panes are rotting away and they're splinters. There's no trespassing signs painted on boards that board up the windows. And there's planks that bar the entry by the doors.
Sounds beautiful.
Exactly. Everything we dream of. If you peek inside the window, you'll see chairs and beds and bookshelves and cabinets and shit just everywhere. They just up and left immediately. and abandoned the place overnight.
Oh.
It sounds like a fun place to hang out, right? You're already packing your bags. I know it.
Yes, mentally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you visit there, you're definitely not alone. For myself, I only knew about Letchworth Village through TV magic. It has been on TV. It's been Ghost Avengers. I didn't want to mention that.
Really?
It was a long time ago. It was the Nick days, I mean, like,
Yeah.
it was like season 4. I didn't want to mention
Really?
it, but
I don't remember
they are
this.
the only major paranormal group that has made their way in that I am aware of.
Look, I was just so stoked that Geraldo had been there. I was like, oh my God, I know who he is.
You know what? He was ahead of his time. Like, had he been a little more cooler, he could be Josh Gates. I mean, like, he was into that, like, I'm gonna discover the next thing.
The next thing. But he was into everything. Everything. He had his fucking
and
thumb
that
on.
might have been his downfall. He should have took a little bit of a lighter note instead of like such an extremist. So,
but yeah, I was looking up books on Amazon on Willowbrook State School, and there is a $60 paperback on the sociology of Willowbrook State School. I'm like, yeah, nope, not gonna buy that one.
That's also nothing you need to read. Like, I'm sure it's just a tear fest, basically, like tragedy and just awful. So
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Anyways, back to visiting Letchworth Village. All I knew about was that it was on TV, and from what I understood, you see it on TV and you're like, I want to go there and type it in, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's not open to the public, and it's not into paranormal investigations.
Oh.
So, there's no tour you can take to go to that place. That's what I understood so many years ago.
So it's off limits.
However, looking and researching the story and realizing that it's right along this path, I never knew that basically it's just in the middle of a fucking park. And there's a walking path that cuts right by all the buildings. And tons of people, though illegal, explore the buildings whenever they want. Those no trespassing signs are for real.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the police, they hang out there pretty heavily.
Yeah.
But I think it's more at night because I saw a lot of YouTube videos and they were all during the day. So I think the police during the day are like doing their thing.
Yeah.
And then at night they're like, we're going to sit at the park. That's when real bad people come out. I don't know. I'm just telling you, if you live in the area and you've never been there, which I doubt that, I bet everybody that lives in the area has been there before and they know the drill. It's us that don't know it.
Right.
I think during the day it's kind of okay to sneak into the buildings. At night, not so much.
Yeah.
At all. The cops are like, we ain't playing with this shit. Don't be there in the dark. Probably they don't want to chase you down in the dark in the middle of a creepy ass building. They don't want to be there.
I don't blame them. Right.
But during the day, they're like, fine, whatever. At some point you're going to get tired and it's going to be time for lunch.
They probably assume if you're going to go there during the daytime, you're not there to spray paint shit or tear anything up. They think that you're probably just a curious onlooker. You're gotten a little lost off your path.
All the way into a building.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you go there at night, you're clearly trespassing. You're clearly doing something you shouldn't be doing.
It's the same. Lots of parks have a rule that after dusk, it's closed. Like cemeteries. I know those are two totally different things, but there are also just a lot of parks that say we're closed after dusk. You shouldn't be here because you're up to no good. So get out. We ain't got no light. Okay? This is dangerous.
Yeah.
And from what I saw during the day, it can get pretty dark in those buildings too. Like, so if you're going to sneak into them, take a flashlight. Just so you know.
A big one. I mean, I've been to places in the dark. You can get hurt. So this place sounds like a place where you can get fucked up in the dark.
Oh, yeah. They just left shit for you to run into and scratch yourself on. So, yeah, not good. But there's a lot of daring trespassers that do investigate the buildings and the grounds, and they report lots of paranormal activity. So not just in the buildings, there's also people that respect the no trespassing, and they stay outside of the building, and they've done investigations with spirit boxes and recorders, and they've gotten evidence from it.
I love these people, that go the extra mile. Get the evidence for us. That's great.
So visitors to the area have reported hearing furniture scraping across the floor.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's always fun.
We've had that happen.
Yeah, in Waverly. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me of that kind of especially like, because there was a part of Waverly that had a bunch of graffiti on the walls and stuff too, which Letchworth has a ton of. You know, there's a lot of people think they're artists, but they only seem to draw penises. So they should really get a different muse.
Good job. You know what that looks like. Okay, let's move on to something else.
Anyways, so there's also heavy footsteps, disembodied voices. Some rooms become suddenly and remarkably cold, even though it'll be like the dead of summer. So this is New York. So to me, it'd be really easy for it to be cold. So, but they're saying it's the dead of summer, so it's very odd. Some have reported seeing shadow figures in the buildings, and there is a ton of EVPs that are recorded in this area.
Wow.
Some that I heard, they are very class A level. Like, they're good. And like I said, I didn't want to talk about because I get so bored of talking about ghost adventures, but a lot of their EVPs were really good, and they also did get a shadow figure. That was pretty cool.
Do not remember them being here.
It's an oldie but a goodie. So most of those trespassers that are investigating the location for the paranormal, they say that they run into the spirits of children. They report mysterious giggling.
Wow.
Electrical equipment turning on and off, or playful poltergeist activities such as personal belongings being flung across the room.
What?
Now look, hold on. Before you go any further.
Okay, because I was like,
I took those words from someone else on the interweb. That is not how I would describe playful poltergeist activity.
No, you don't take someone else's shit and just start throwing it across the room. That's not playful. That's fucked up.
Listen, I don't even categorize that as childlike. If my children were throwing shit at me from across the room, you can bet your ass I don't define that as playful. And somebody's getting a motherfucking long ass time out.
Exactly. I knew exactly.
Like, indefinitely grounded to your room with nothing else. Take your phone away. That type shit. I mean, this is whoever thought that was playful. They're messed up in the head. I mean, like, I wouldn't go to the bedroom with them because, you know, what they might think is fun and silly, you might be like, that's rape. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Extreme.
Watch out for those people that think throwing shit at you is playful. That's an abusive relationship there. So, furthermore, let me just move on from that. Further people have reported being pushed, shoved, and even held down on the floor by unseen forces.
Not good.
So just a disclaimer, all the searching that I did on the internet and through YouTube and stuff, I found lots of people that explored the buildings and they've gotten tons of EVPs and heard odd noises while they were in there. However, none of them, I also saw a bunch of people like be successful with spirit boxes. They were getting responses on those and stuff.
Wow.
But I never saw anybody that was physically getting harmed. Now, on Ghost Adventures, Nick Groff had gotten like a push on the back. However, when you're alone in a building and you're not expecting it, any kind of touch might be represented as kind of extreme and catch you off guard.
Right.
But he said something just hit me on the back or whatever. So, you know, just those stories of people being pushed and shoved and held down and stuff like that, I don't really know about them. I didn't see any documented proof other than Nick claiming that he was pushed on the back. So other than that, just lots of EVPs and odd noises while they're in these buildings. Like they would be standing alone and they would hear something that would sound like movement, you know, from a distance or whatever. I did also find this blog by Kimberly Veltrano. Maybe I made that up. Veltrano. It doesn't matter. She probably doesn't want her full name out there. So she wrote a blog that's called Letchworth Village, Sad, Decayed, and Haunted Homestead. She had visited, I'm not going to read you the whole blog. I'm just going to summarize it for you. She had visited the grounds of Letchworth many times. But after one particular visit, which was also the first time she ever took her husband along with her, strange things started to happen to her at home or to them at home. For example, their Wii would turn on by itself.
Oh, my God.
They would turn it off and then shortly thereafter it would turn on again. It was also during Halloween time, so they had decorations out, and the decorations would turn on by themselves. They were like, maybe it's something with the batteries, so they replaced the batteries. It would do it again, and they would turn on by themselves.
Wow.
They also found the medicine cabinet door opened and the door to the pantry opened on its own.
Some hungry ghosts.
Right? It would just be kind of cracked, nothing extreme. And they would close it, and then they would come back and find those things open again.
Interesting.
It went on for about 3 weeks, and then it just suddenly stopped.
Shit. What happened?
I don't know. Kimberly and her husband came to the conclusion that maybe a child spirit had followed them home from their visit at Letchworth, and they had been back to Letchworth Village many times after that, but nothing like that has happened again.
Wow.
So I'm assuming that ghost child came to their house and was like, you got no good Wii Games. Your snacks suck. And so they just moved on to the neighbor's house.
Mm-hmm.
Like a stray cat would, you know?
Nice.
They're like, you kind of fucking blow. So never mind.
Wait, word of the wise. So basically, don't have anything cool happen in your house so that the ghosts will just move next door.
Lock up your good game. So they'll never know. And then don't have any fruit roll-ups. You know, that type thing. But did I ever tell you the time that we had a PlayStation 2?
Yep. I was just going to ask you about that, as a matter of fact.
Was there a PlayStation 3? I mean, like,
I have one.
I don't think I have a PlayStation 3 or ever had a PlayStation 3. We went from the 2 to the 4.
So yeah, I've got the 3 right next to me, as a matter of fact. That's what we play our DVDs on. And then the 4 is upstairs.
And I think we jumped from 2 to 4. So we must have bought our Wii in between that or something like that. But we had a PlayStation 2 that was in our bedroom all the time, and because it played DVDs, so you can use it like DVD player and watch movies and stuff like that. So it stayed in our room when we had a TV in our room, which we don't anymore, but it would cut on by itself.
Yeah, I know, you told me that.
So ours this is the only reason that, and some weird markings on my window. I mean, not windows, mirrors in my bathroom. My bathroom and the hall bathroom. Like your finger writing stuff on there. That's the only reason I wonder, is my house haunted? So, other than that, it's not that old. And as far as I know, nobody has died here. But the PlayStation cuts on by itself, or it did. And I would ask the spirits to turn it off, because that's how weird I am. That's right where I go. Hey, if you turn that on, can you turn it off? And they would turn it off.
Well, and if anybody that's listening to us has a PlayStation, they know that you actually have to like either unplug that bitch or put your finger on something that turns it off. It doesn't just.
But you have to hold the button down for it to go off, just like a computer or whatever. Now that PlayStation moved to my youngest son's room for a while.
You moved it.
Where he never had that problem. Yeah,
okay.
I moved it, but that's because it's not because we were like, we don't want to deal with this ghost anymore. You can deal with it, youngest child. No, it's because we took the TV out of our room. We gave it all to him. So we put it all in his room. And then since then we've moved that out of his room, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Now that PlayStation 2 is not, it's inactive. It's in a closet in this office, by the way. But the PlayStation 4 has never had that problem.
Interesting.
So, not that I know of. It's not my room, actually, so I wouldn't know.
But didn't we feel like that might have been tied to a recent expedition of ours? Didn't we had recently come back from somewhere?
Yes. So we had an experience with a child, and those things were happening in the same room, that the equipment that was used in that space.
Right. That's what I thought. Like, that's what I felt. I felt like something was going on immediately after one of our experiences. So I don't know if something had maybe come home with you for 3 short weeks. And then moved on?
I don't know. But, I love taking in stray cats. So I'm fine with that. Like, whatever. Anybody that wants to come visit, that's a ghost.
I'm shipping you a cat tomorrow.
Stop
yes.
that. I would take a cat, though.
You'll love her.
I'll take her home. I'll sneak her on the plane with me when I come in July.
Okay.
So Kimberly and her husband, they came to the conclusion that something might have come back with them, but every time that they revisit it, nothing like that has happened. So this reminded me a lot of the recent podcast that we just did of the smokestacks. And not just because of the whole child following you home thing, which we talked heavily about because we believe that happened to my cousin who was there with us at the smokestacks. And we talked very much about how I was like, yes, I will take any little ghost child home. But also just because of the whole abandonment element, with the smokestacks, it was just kind of like, we're up and we're gone. We're done. We're not working there anymore.
Right.
And Letchworth was kind of the same thing. It was even more extreme.
It was very extreme
than what happened with the smokestacks. So that leaves a lot of open space for people to trespass on and to do whatever they fucking want there, which opens up stirs one of those, a lot of different kinds of energies.
Yeah.
So, they might be inviting these kind of negative energies or whatever to this location. And then there's also, for Letchworth, there's this sad, horrible past that's involved with all these innocent, helpless people that have passed away there or spent their time there. So that's a big mix of emotions. And I mean, it used to happen, but also still happens too if that kind of energy is still left there.
Yeah.
Also, not to make this podcast about another location, it's about Letchworth Village, but it reminded me, just watching the videos and of people perusing through these abandoned buildings and also just watching those clips from the documentary and everything, it really just took me back to thinking about a place that I've visited for a day tour. However, you and I have not investigated it. I didn't investigate it either. I just lucked up on a wonderful day tour of the Trans-Alleghenian Lunatic Asylum. Listen, I'm not going to tell you the story of that location. I'm just going to tell you that I had the pleasure of visiting there, and we hit it on the right day, me and my kids. There was a storm coming in. Nobody was visiting the place, and we got the tour guide all to ourselves. And it just was a very personable experience. And he explained what the people that inhabited the area had to, why they were there, the reasons they were brought to the asylum, and what they had to go through while they were there. It's a ridiculously morbid but beautiful location. Yeah. And then when you hear about the types of people that were sent there, the stuff that they had to go through while they were there, but walking those halls, as sad as those people's stories were, walking the halls and paying your respects, even though these weren't people you knew, you have no connection to them other than simply feeling for them and wishing they had a better life. So visiting this type of place and paying your respects and offering yourself as an open listener, just in case there's a spirit that has something to say to you, that's what I'm into the paranormal for. That's the whole purpose right there, is for these people. So Letchworth is definitely a place I want to visit one day. However, I read a lot of things here and there, or I read a lot of things here and there, that the city or the state even maybe are looking into making plans to do something with the remaining buildings and the land. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, they've redeveloped some of the land already, and I think it's like a recreational facility, or maybe it's even a school or something. But I totally support this, because there's a lot of disgraceful ass fucking graffiti going on inside this building, and a lot of just dumb shit. So, I mean, if they want to repurpose it for something better, then I think even all the lingering souls from this facility would appreciate that. And I support it. However, it's like one of those types of places you want to just go and say, I'm sorry you ever had to go through this. I'm here for you if you want to communicate something and leave a last message or something like that. Yeah. And that's it. That's all I got for you. I mean, it's a location that's always been as soon as I saw it on Ghost Avengers, I'm like, I want to go there because I'm attracted to kids' needs and whatever, even though these are ghost children. They're not real children anymore. And some of them even got transferred out of there and stuff like that. That's great.
Did you know that Letchworth was very close to Buffalo?
Yeah.
You were, I mean, I only say that because you were recently,
Buffalo.
I mean, in Canada.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would have been
had my own car and plenty of time to explore, then I would do so much with that. But you have these family obligations, which
Nah.
so obnoxious. I'm busy trying to visit with ghosts. Can you stop inviting me to weddings? No, I'm just playing. I mean, I love them and I'd love to hang out with them and be on the Canadian side of things too. It's just really cool and stuff. So I appreciate my time there, but it's always like, I know they're so close to this place and they're so close to that place. I know they're really close to like Rolling Hills Asylum and stuff like that too. So, I mean, there's every time we're up in that Canadian area, I'm like salivating at the mouth. I'm just like, so many things I could be looking at. But
Rolling Hills is 30 minutes away from Letchworth.
Yeah. And I mean, and Buffalo's right there where we always fly into and stuff like that. So,
yep.
Yeah.
I didn't realize all of that was right in the same area. So when you started saying New York, of course, immediately earlier in the podcast, I was thinking Long Island. So not what I thought, not at all what I thought. There is another asylum that's off of Long Island. And I can't think of the.
They're all over the place, and that's the sad truth of, I guess, probably every nation, but definitely America, because I can't speak for other nations or whatever. Is that there was a lot of facilities that were like this. We've been to Ashmore Estates in Illinois and stuff, and it's a poor home, and but they took in the people that had nowhere else to go, just like these people, and it just. There wasn't proper funding and they weren't taken care of and they were seen with little respect. And this is the kind of stuff that it fell into. But when you watch those documentaries, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that people could view that and then it take them 20 more years to shut it down.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
It's just all really sad. But at the same time, the world progressed and we moved on and we learned from our mistakes. And we're doing different things now, and this kind of thing doesn't exist.
We have different science
Thank you to
now.
Geraldo Rivera.
Oh my God. And I have his name underlined with like a bunch of exclamation marks because I was so excited that his name was mentioned.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
His whole thing was, or whatever, in American Horror Story. In the third season of American Horror Story, where they're doing Asylum and stuff like that, that whole Lana Winters thing is supposed to be like a Geraldo Rivera type thing, where
creep stash,
where she investigates the treatment of patients in a facility like that and stuff like that. So it's something that wouldn't happen in this day and age, and thank God. It's because of the progression of people's minds and in caring for other people, and not at all that we're perfect, and there's still people that suffer and we're not aware of it, but we're trying to do our best, and we're not going to look at pictures of the event and then be like, oh, that's terrible, and then keep going on with our life for 20 years.
Right. We're going to raise a stink about it.
Exactly. And thank God. There's more of a voice for those types of people these days.
Yeah, because a lot of people feel the same way. And, the paranormal community is growing and thriving just like this. And they can speak with each other and we can hold hands and actually communicate and talk about our experiences together instead of being super standoffish like these people were back in what year was this?
21, when they first were like, hey, something weird's going on up there. 1940, when they sent pictures out about it and people were still like, that's terrible, but done nothing. And, and then the 1970s, they probably moved towards trying to make like, hey, that's not right. But they might have had a period of time where they tried to improve the facility and that failed. And then after that, there's that period of trying to figure out, well, okay, this isn't working. Where can we move these patients to?
Wow.
So, I mean, I kind of see why it took so long. There was probably a time where they tried to improve on what they were currently doing. And then there was a time where they were like, okay, now it's time to transition into just move these patients somewhere else. But yes, like you said, I mean, everything takes time, but it takes communication and it takes working together. and being open-minded and like, look at this. And that's what I was talking about before. It's not to this level at all about, being open-minded to humanity. It was just like, stop being a dick and respond to my email. Sorry. Just like fell over with laughter of how arrogant I am. But like, I'm just saying, like, we can talk about things open and honestly and share opinions and stuff like that. And if they had been more honest about what was going on in this facility, we don't have the money, we can't take care of these patients, then they would have been like, someone please help me. And they would have found a different situation for them. Like I've called out to the entire paranormal community, please help me understand the science. Give me your advice, explain it to me. I'm really there, like, I'm trying to fucking counsel these spirits and not even like counsel them to the other side. I'm just like, hey, how can I help you? I'd love to hang out with you. I'm a soul that hurts too. Let's like fill this out together. I mean, I think that's just being a Pisces, is like really extreme emotions. Like, can we just be in this together? Yeah. When I was younger and I had a spirit that appeared to only be trying to contact me, I was very much like, you're scaring me. I don't like you. Stop it. And I ignored his ass and was rude to him. And then now I feel so bad about it that I'm like, every other little ghostling, would you like to come to me and talk to me about it? Because I feel so bad. I never talked to this guy. So I mean, like, every place that we go to that has a really painful past, I'm just like, I am here for you. What do you want? So that's why I'm in the paranormal. I feel like you really sympathize with that side as well. We're always there to collect evidence and see what's going on and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's like, how can we help? So this was a tough one. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of something to add.
Debbie Downer, and this comes out on the week of your birthday. But I'm like, can I make Chris cry? Oh, good.
Found it. Done.
I know it hurts her feelings. That wasn't my motivation. I didn't even remember it was your birthday.
So, by the way, don't worry about that.
Ooh, sorry.
Oh, shit.
That's the reason why Letchworth is so important to me and stuff, is because the connection with the children and just feeling for them and just wanting to be there for them. I am always the one that's going to like rush. You say there's haunted children, burp, burp, burp. I'm there. I know. Back. I'm ready to get in the car, everyone, load them up if you can, and they tried their hardest and eventually it got turned around and they've changed the way that they've done things. And thank God for that.
Yeah.
But just like how every millennial and hippie is trying to save every stray cat and dog and every animal in a shelter, that's the way we would have been had we existed and been adults and lived in the time frame that these kind of institutions existed. So thank God we don't, because we don't have homes big enough to house all these people.
I know.
But now, as paranormal investigators, you want to go and you want to say, I'm sorry for what happened to you. How can I help? It's a little too late, but also not. If they're still existing, if their soul's still lingering, then you give them that one last chance to have some kind of form of communication with someone or to get their message out. Right. And like I said a little while ago, that's why I do the paranormal. That's why I'm into that stuff. I don't go to try to solve or figure out a science. I know I'm not smart enough for that shit. I go just for the human element, just to experience it and to offer myself as a listening ear, like a good friend.
There's a psychology there, that maybe some people don't understand, but maybe these spirits do, and maybe that's why they're still there, lingering, just looking for someone to just lend their ear.
Pay attention to them, connect with them on like a human element, emotional element. Yeah. That's exactly why. Like, we started the podcast in the beginning with my rant of like, why won't anybody be my friend? You know, it was just like on a human element. You may not disagree. You may disagree with some of my beliefs or my EVPs or what I call evidence, but like, also, I've been shitted on for a really long time in my life as a weirdo, and I would think you were too. So can we connect? Can we talk about that? Can we sympathize on that? You know, that's totally different than what these poor children had to go through, children and adults. But I'm just saying, like, we all go through a traumatic situation, and we're just trying to connect on, like, I know how it feels to feel like an outsider. That's the main connection, is like being an outsider and trying to sympathize with other outsiders and offer a lending ear. So, really depressing story. Sorry.
But it's one that needed to be out there because it's a location that has paranormal experiences and a very sad, tragic past. So it's good to have been brought up.
Surprisingly super available to the public. Like, you could just walk through there and experience it, you know, and possibly trespass into these properties, which we don't recommend.
We don't do that sort of thing, but you know.
We're just saying, lots of people seem to be doing it. So there's lots of people that are interacting with this space on a regular basis. And so it needs to be talked about. Like, this is the history there. Let's all try to keep in mind when entering this space to go in there very respectful, like.
Right.
These spirits may not understand why you're there, and you really should just be there as, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm here to hang out with you. Just make sure that you're going in there respectfully, and I don't know, if we're ever in the area, because it's not that far from Buffalo, like you said, then we would do the same. Absolutely.
But yeah, Buffalo is definitely a place that's on our list of places to actually hit.
There's so much stuff around there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. You get that passport too, and we totally have a free place to stay too.
I might get that passport, or I might get a different job. But if you're in Buffalo and you have like a story, right? Or maybe something to add to this amazing location or haunted hike.
Oh, the Albany area, any haunted stories along the long path, Buffalo, around Letchworth Village. It sounds like people just constantly invade these non-trespassing buildings. So I saw plenty of stories, but if you want to share it with us, so that if you listen to this podcast and you want to share it with us because you're in the area, and we'll share it on the podcast, and by means do that. We are at creaturesinthenight.paranormal@gmail.com. Send your stories to us, and we're hoping for a once a month, fan-based podcast story where we just tell your story. We're also posting on social media. We'll post little pictures from Letchworth and everything like that. Just hopefully not the super heartbreaking stuff or anything like that. A little lighter, just buildings and whatnot. So on social media, it's COTN_paranormal on Instagram, and then no underscore at Twitter and Facebook. So communicate with us. Let us know what's going on, any stories for these locations. And you can also just share any general stories that you'd like to our email address or any of these social media forms. You can also, and we beg you to please rate and review our podcast on whatever form you listen to this podcast. I only get to view it on iTunes, so I'd love it if I could see it.
Go to iTunes, basically, please, people.
That's just me being selfish because I have an iPhone, so I wouldn't have to search all over the place for stuff. So, but no, we appreciate any kind of feedback you can give about the podcast, so we know how we're doing. And we appreciate you listening to this story. And yeah, do you got anything else?
No, that was an emotional roller coaster for me. So, yeah, that's probably like the only one that we've had so far that was a tearjerker.
I know. I'm like, gosh, this sucks as a birthday present.
That was very hard, a very emotional story, but I don't have anything else.
Good. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.